What's going on, guys? Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm interviewing a really cool dude, Austin, but I couldn't finish making an intro. I'm currently out doing something extremely amazing. I cannot wait for you guys to see what's going to be happening. It's a lot of cool stuff's coming to the channel. Just be ready, because you won't be. But I love you guys, and let's go on with today's video. Austin, why don't you give us a little update on yourself? Welcome in. I'm Zesty. Give us a little bit of information on yourself, sir.
Well, I just turned the crisp age of 40 a couple months back, about 2 months ago, and yeah, man, it's been a journey. Life's been a journey. Yeah, I'm just kind of going through some emotions right now, and took a step back from playing music full time, and during COVID, when nobody could do anything band wise out there, but Twitch and look goofy on camera, and fuck yeah to that, right? Because that kept some people paying. I did it for a second, and it was pretty cool. And I got offered an opportunity to work in in a different field, and so I've been working in drug and alcohol treatment here in Santa Ana, California, and it's been a blessing. It's we need people to get at the front line and get ahead of some of these problems. A huge chunk of the world have now. I'm glad it's not like taboo, and it's like on the front page now, because I feel bad for people in the 70s, 80s, where it was like, well, just get your shit together. It's like, it's not really that easy, you know what I mean? If you're admitting to a serious problem like this, I'm glad they call it a disease and stuff like that, but it's very peculiar, right?
Right.
If you know anything about it, it's not like cancer. You can't go to the doctor and he's gonna be like, oh, so what we see here in your body is you have cancer, and this is what you can do and maybe live. You know what I mean? This is the kind of thing you got to come to conclusion to yourself and admit that you got it, and you're gonna do these other steps in your life to hopefully make this through, and just attribute it to a new routine and a way of living, rather than like you're gonna take something and be fixed. Because it's from my experience, I have 6 years sobriety, and it's an all the time thing. If I want to have a life that's worth living, and be the me that I know I can be, and be there for you, and be there for me and the family, I got to do some things, and that there's a lot that goes into that. It seems easy now because I just know this is what I want with my life, but I know for many years it was not. There's many battles and struggles, right?
Right.
Yeah, it took what it took. I went to treatment in 2017, and even then it was like kind of an ultimatum. So that's scary to me, because that means I wasn't even done doing what I was doing, right? Like, right. It was on somebody else's accord, and that's crazy. Like, looking back, I'm like, my excuses and the way I was thinking were just completely out of my mind. I was like, the person I was with at the time threatened me that like they were gonna tell my whole band, as DevilDriver, who I was in it at the time, hey, I'm gonna tell them you got this problem, and that scared the hell out of me, because I didn't know what was gonna happen if they knew I had a problem. Mm-hmm. I know that Dez had already gone through a bunch of that in his career with other bands, and that's just the first place my mind went to, was like, yeah, like, I'm pretty sure that's going to be unacceptable, be kicked out of the band and all that. Yeah. But the only way I could think in the moment, because I was in my addiction, was like, my answer to that which is insane, is like, well, if you say that, and if you were to do that, then I'm just going to get on a sicker one, you know what I mean? And then I'll lose everything. But the reality is like, if I wasn't to quit doing what I was doing, I could have died, wound up in jail, inadvertently killing somebody because I'm like all messed up driving around. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I couldn't even see that, right? So, and if I'm not here, then I don't have music anyway. So my equation was all off, right? So there was some serious work to be had, and I didn't really see it on my own accord. I'm super glad I got in there and saw my people right away, and saw people saying a lot of the same stuff the way that I was thinking, the troubles I seemed to be having, and I just started working with people right away. I was like, you know what, all my best ways in life of trying to like stop doing this would always end up with an expiration date. You know, I'd had a year one time, I had like 2 years one time sobriety, and it always had an expiration date that was like, well, maybe I could just drink a little, you know, maybe I could just smoke a little weed, you know, but it never, like, it was never, the equation when I was getting sober was never like, it's going to be a full-time thing, like a for life kind of thing. I didn't think that my problems were that bad, you know, I just didn't. And I thought, well, you know, and my ego of like the things I've done in my life, like overcome being obese growing up, like I was like 245, and I was able to figure that out on my own, you know, for the most part. And then like the whole getting signed when I was 20, and look at the career I've been able to attain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so my mind tricked me, right, into thinking, well, I'm just going to apply the tenacity that I had to get to those things to the, you know, drugs and alcohol thing. And it just didn't work out that way. You know, it was a stickier situation. I wasn't as strong as I thought. And I'm okay with that today. I'm okay to know who I am. I'm thankful to know who I am, and not need to like figure out everything in my life on my own, you know. And it's cool to like lean on some others when shit's going crazy upstairs, right? And I can just reach out, you know. That's what today's all about, you know. You don't have to be, you know, all the stigmas of males and the stigmas that are just out there, you know what I mean? You don't have to live like that. Like, mental health's a real thing, right? And you need to take care of that shit, or you're not going to be present for yourself or anybody else. Yeah. All the stuff you want is going to go down the drain, brother.
Yeah, it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. I think that's incredible. I mean, in the beginning of 2023, DevilDriver released the statement that you left, and when you read the headlines, you're like, what? And you would assume it's on bad terms, but apparently it was good terms, and it was because of this journey of helping others. What inspired you just to be like, you know what, I want to go out there and help others?
You know, like I said, it kind of fell in my lap. And, you know, some of the things I learned about myself when I really got humbled and real, and really decided to do some digging in on me and my problems, and not just think they weren't problems, was I realized I'm very, like, there's people out there that are quick to jump off cliffs, you know, and sometimes that's good. And a lot of times that's terrible, because you're not assessing anything accurately. You're just all the way in or all the way out, right? And I had that style of thinking, and that's partially, you know, that worked out to like certain advantages of like getting into this field of metal and you know, achieving some kind of, you know, great things. But a lot of other departments, it was terrible. You know what I mean? Because if I wasn't naturally good at this or that, whatever it may be, I'd just be like, well, fuck that. It's all the way fuck that. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, during COVID, when we couldn't go out and jam and stuff, I'd always done like mindless jobs on purpose, so that I could just, because I always knew I was going to go on the road, you know, and I wasn't like a career, you know, employee kind of guy, desk job guy, you know, and I did that on purpose, so I could just put in a hard day's work, get off and go drum and jam out with the guys, and you know, work on the next tour. That was inevitable. And that's how my life was. But then COVID presented, and you know, I had like, I don't know, what, 2020. So I had like 3 years of sobriety. And I remember going backwards, I remember thinking when I was working on myself, like, yeah, I will always make decisions too fast sometimes. And I remember being in treatment and thinking like, how cool it was that like 90% of the people there were also addicts or alcoholics. The counselors, all of them, like almost everybody that worked there, I was like, oh, that makes actually a lot of sense, because you're coming from like a place where like half the people you're hanging out with you can't trust, and like this and that. So like by them having the skin in the game and the relatability and all of that, it really helped like massage the idea of like, oh well shit, now you're in front of me leading this class, like boosting us up. I just thought it was so cool. And it like some light bulbs went off, and I was like, man, maybe one day, you know. But that was like day 2 I'm in there, because like I said, again, all or nothing thinking, and my mind's going, yeah, one day I'm gonna like work in this, you know. And then I was like, hey, pump the fucking brakes, bro. Like, let's get some time. Let's like really decide for once and for all, you're gonna do this thing different. Let's show your family like some love, and like let them by your actions see that you're gonna actually be okay this time. You know what I mean? And like, and lo and behold, that opportunity presented itself in 2020, because I go to many like meetings, AA meetings, and all kinds of stuff like that, and bring other guys to meetings and stuff. And this one meeting in particular is my sponsor's house. I don't know how much you know about AA, but we like get a thing called a sponsor and stuff like that. And you know, the gentleman was there, and he'd ask me once in a while, like, hey man, like, you know, I think you'd be a good fit to work here. And I was like, dude, I don't know nothing about that field, but like, I've always kind of thought maybe that if I wasn't going to do something different than music, like this would be it. I got to have some heart and soul in it. Like I'm going to be working 70-80% of my life. Like I need to fuck around and like whatever that thing is, you know what I mean? And so I thought, hey, you know, I got 3 years. Maybe this is the God shot or whatever, you know, like it's time to like give it back and get in there straight away. I was like, dude, this is really cool. And like, I know I'm like the light kind of person, and like I'm always bringing positivity, and like just can't help it. That's just a part of my character. I was like, dude, people need this, you know. And so I jumped in, and a lot of people saw a lot of positive things in me, and like I was comfortable at first at the like bottom of the barrel, like the hit the ground running, like frontline job, because I didn't know nothing. And so they put me there. You know, you're called a BHT, a behavioral health technician, and you do a lot of you know, day-to-day things, helping clients, you know, make calls, taking clients on drives, getting them to group, you know, this and that. There's a bunch of things. It's, don't get me wrong, it's pretty busy stuff, because people are needy and stuff like that. But started there, and then as that went, like some higher ups started seeing some things in me and put me into case management, you know. And that was a trip, you know. I'm leading groups all of a sudden. I'm doing case management, working with people and their families. And then from there, another opportunity presented itself. And I'm like the assistant program manager now, you know, like on the operations side. And it's been super cool. They call on me for ideas and stuff like that. There's a cool organization called Rock to Recovery that comes in and does a really cool group, like a music group thing. It's a really cool concept, and we're about to get them in there. And it's been a cool thing, right? So that's, those are the things that inspired me to get into that. Yeah,
it's fucking incredible, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. That's it's very nice to see that there's positive reinforcement out there. I want to go into the process now. Like, you've played in many talented bands such as like DevilDriver, The Elite, Play This Guy, Chimera. What is your writing process for these bands that have different energies, different styles? What gets you in that mindset to write?
You know, it's really funny. It's like, I was watching this special yesterday, a couple days back on, have you seen that new like Untold Johnny Manziel?
No, I've seen things for it, but I haven't had the time.
So this dude was like he had this such weird talent that I like really related with. Like he was just a, you know, blue collar dude from like a small town, and like I just love playing football, right? And there was this one moment that like rang true to some of my identity as a musician. And they were like, he got drafted into the Cleveland Browns, funnily enough, right? And his agent's talking about like the coaches saying, hey, how come this guy never checks out any plays? And he's like, oh, I'm sure he does. He's like, well, no, Manziel, we gave him an iPad, and we can, you know, moderate like how many, we can see how many hours he's done. And he was like, he's done 0 hours of looking at any games, any plays, anything, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was really interesting, because I feel like my best approach and work as of the later years especially is I'm just a jam-oriented person, you know what I mean? I'll sit there the whole process with guitar writing and all this stuff and write down some stock beats, like, because that's how anybody jams anymore. And I would be willing to bet that at least 80 to 85% of all bands out there right now are not jamming in the garage to create their music. They're all putting these stock beats down from a program and kind of sitting around together doing the guitar. I don't know. That's been my experience in the last 10 years. Not my favorite, because I'm like doing table beats and like thinking of something decent. I'm like, dude, just put straight double bass there. I'm going to play whatever I come up with. But when I approach it, so now it's like so impersonal, which is weird, because believe this guy, like when I was in my first band, we had so much time. That was like the only time in my life where we jammed a lot to create music. We didn't have this ability to Pro Tools and all that shit was just barely hitting the scene, you know? Yeah. So that was like the last that I could remember being in a room jamming all of our instruments together, like literally. And that was like, what, 20 years ago? So we've had to adapt, right? So my process is really weird, being kind of impersonal, because it's personal for like the guitar writing and stuff like that. Other than that, I get sent those tracks and I'm by myself. You know what I mean? I'm by myself jamming to all these tunes. And over time, I've developed a flow of like, I get a feel for what I want to do. And then that's one part, right? And then the same thing for the next part. And then my first thing that I pay attention to is transitions. And that just happens over just jamming it a bunch of times. And sometimes I'll get a whole nother idea from that transition and be like, oh, and then I'll go backwards and be like, that gave me an idea for a beat to play there instead of what I was doing that was more stock. And then it goes into this transition. I don't know, my brain just picks up on playing things over and over again. And it just remembers the transitions. That's where the transitions is where everything starts. But even like before I go into record, I only on purpose to have about 70% of it in play. Like the rest of the 30 is whatever's going to happen. And let's call that the fills, the random shit I do on cymbals and stuff like that. Yeah. Like that stuff's all impromptu right there on record with whoever the hell's recording. You know what I mean? And that's to give it the ideal that we were in a room live. You know what I mean? Because I feel like Gojira, that band probably jams together as a band. It helps that they come from the same DNA too, right? But like, they probably jam all their shit a million times together in a room. And you could tell by how
you could tell, yeah, because of the trance. That little like, you go into like a trance when there's certain jams. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, but so much of this other deathcore shit nowadays, and I love it and all that. But I know it's a guitar player writing all these drum parts. Like and then the drummer just learns it and maybe has a few things change. You know what I mean? Like, and just being around, real straight, just tell you there's even a shame in it, which is chilling. But like, that's just my process, and I do prefer to jam a lot more of it. Even, I mean, I feel like a lot of people are like, dude, that's risky. Like, you don't even know exactly what you're gonna play yet. I'm like, yeah, that's part of the fun for me. You know what I mean? I know something, like, I like to call it the take too. Like, cause sometimes I'll do a full take of just like randomness, and once in a while there'll be that miracle take where like, dude, everything that just happened there was fucking perfect. Like, let's just keep that, I'll learn it later. You know what I mean? It's all me playing. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much what the Elite is. So when you hear that Elite shit and you're like, how the fuck do you remember all that shit? I didn't. I just freestyled most of that, you know what I mean? Learned it later, you know what I mean? And some days I'm like, fuck, I paid for that, because some of those songs, like, I have to listen to this for fucking a million hours and jam it even longer to like memorize every little part, because nothing repeats. There are a lot of riffs on that Elite record where we wrote that entire record on acoustics first, because I brought so many acoustics. Absolutely. It's hilarious. One day I would love, I don't know how much of this Rob will love or whatever. I'm just going to be myself. But yeah, we wrote that whole thing. We had 12-string acoustics. It was sick. We went out there for like, I don't know, a month and a half or some shit. And TJ flew us all out. And we just jammed at Rob's studio. And like I brought like a stupid amount of voice memos, because that's how I record my riffs when I have a cool idea, just on voice memo. Nothing pro whatsoever. It's just on my iPhone. And we just referenced a million of those and be like, oh, that was pretty sick. And then I'd have to, of course, relearn it, because I have like 50 and I'm not like just playing these riffs all day. Like if I'm feeling inspired, that's why I record it, because I'm probably gonna forget it in 10 minutes because I got ADD. And then I would just relearn it, right? And then we laid it down on acoustic. So we like formulated every song, like the full record, fucking first structured on acoustic guitars. It's fucking classic. I would love to re-record all the acoustics so it actually sounded good, to like put out that version. I think would be fucking slamming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would love to hear that. I would love to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's recordings. If you like the content that you are seeing, do me a favor and smash your face against that subscribe button, like the video, and follow us up for more content such as metal interviews and news.